caught me in the middle of something. Are you here for the next YouTube video? Okay, let's just get right into it. Welcome. Hi guys, welcome back. I know it has been a minute since I uploaded a video, but we're gonna work on my consistency, and God has definitely been dealing with me on that, and also my discipline. So bear with me, I'm a work in progress, but here we go. I briefly discussed this before, but I thought that being a Christian was going to be very easily done. Success would be immediate. Anything I prayed I would get. I just came into it with no understanding, and it led me into a season of being strengthened, being consecrated, being chastised, being corrected, and a bunch of other things for my benefit. Now, will I say that it was easy? No. Will I say that it felt good? No. It felt terrible. It felt how it felt when I first started to discover who I am in New Age. If you don't know what New Age is or what it's like, I do suggest you go watch that video. I will try to insert it somewhere along one of these corners. But New Age spirituality really focuses on finding yourself and basically not looking outside of yourself for healing. It doesn't really acknowledge God. I mean, some people do, but that's not the focus of it. The focus is you can do all things by yourself on your own with no help. And then some people get into orishas and other deities, and some people get into God. But for me, it was just me for the most part. But when I gave my life back to Christ and I went through my down season, and I call it my down season because I wasn't necessarily in the wilderness. I was just going through a moment of immense pressure to transform from a caterpillar to a butterfly. Period of really seeing how strong I was, really getting to know my strengths and weaknesses, really learning how to trust God, how to obey God, how to wait on God, how to seek God, how to communicate with God, how God communicates with me. So it was more so about me building up my relationship, strengthening my relationship, not only with Him, but with myself. So I wanted to discuss how that went and why that journey is very vital to becoming a woman or becoming an adult in general, and also why that is so important in being a part of a spiritual body. In my down season, it was difficult for me because I always wanted to have motion. I always wanted to be making money. I always wanted to be out having fun. I always wanted to keep up with the appearances of people my age. I'm 23, so a lot of people I know graduated college and immediately started to travel, immediately got great jobs, immediately just seemed to bloom and blossom. But this is the age of social media, so you never really know what's going on. But that is what I was comparing my reality to, people's couple seconds of shine and boasting. So when I did graduate college, I didn't immediately get a job, but I ended up getting a full-time job. It paid pretty well for me to be that at, how old was I was 22. It was paying pretty well. I did travel like immediately after graduation, back to back. So, for a minute it seemed like my life was headed in that direction that I was expecting of like the glamour of finally being a graduate, undergraduate, a successful completed undergraduate. And it was quickly all taken away from me because I was not focusing on my relationship with God. Once I got everything God had for me in that season, I began to fall back into the same patterns that He had just pulled me out of. And that is when I went into my down season. That's why I said it's not necessarily the wilderness, it's just a season where you have to be sat down and you have to be taught. You have to really press in and lean in on who you are, who you're trying to become, who God is, who He wants you to become, and how to get in alignment with Him. So, me always wanting to have motion, that was a problem. Like, I'm unemployed now, so I'm forced to discipline myself and work on my business to keep income coming in. And discipline is not something I I used to think I was disciplined, and maybe I was at a time in college, but that was because the pressure was on me and I didn't really have a choice. So I thought I was disciplined because people used to tell me I was disciplined in college, but when it came down for me as an adult, living on my own, unemployed with two businesses that I'm running, I'm like having to really focus on them because I don't have a consistent income to pick up the slack of me lacking in my business endeavors. So that's when I kind of like the ball was in my court. It really tested me to see, like, okay, what are you capable of? What are you capable of? And I think I've been, in hindsight, I think I fought change so hard out of, I don't even know, laziness, lack of discipline, inconsistency, um, you know, being prideful, just really in my own way, not trying to change, thinking that changing was going to church and joining ministry and not changing my characteristics. And I really just want to say that in order to get through your down season where nothing seems to be going your way, or you may be sat down for months, for years, whatever, the first step is to go inward, introspect, see what God wants to change in you, and work on change. Do not fight change. That the first way to navigate your down season is to accept change. And it seems like such a simple concept, but it's very hard to completely let go of all that you once knew. And in a down season, is not like the wilderness. In the wilderness, is more so a choice. In a down season, it's not a choice. God is going to close every single door until you sit down, look at yourself, talk to Him, see what He wants you to work on, and start to change. And it got to a point where doors wouldn't open until I like completely let something go, or completely switched up a routine, broke a habit, or anything. Like, everything that worked out in my favor was because something in me had changed or was changing. Even now, like, I'm still in my season where I'm transitioning out of my down season. So it's a lot of things, and it's just I stopped fighting change. Another thing to navigate your down season is to find who you are in the body of God, in the eyes of God. And although I am a Christian, this can apply to those who haven't yet made that choice, this can apply to you. Accept change, work on change. And number two is find yourself, figure out your identity. What is your purpose here? And I know a lot of times people say our generation, which is the millennials, I think, or are we Gen Z? Child, I don't know. People, whatever. Our generation, which is the people born in the late 90s up until like 2005, I think. Um, they say that, we're so obsessed with um, purpose. And that is not a bad thing. I think previous generations lost sight of purpose, and that is why a lot of the plans God had for them passed down to us. That's why they couldn't fulfill them. So now it's this heavy burden on us of what am I meant to do? Like, who am I called to be? I know it's something better out there for me. That is God placing your purpose on your heart, but you have to be willing to transform into the person you need to be to fulfill that purpose before you can. And in order to do that, you have to know who you are. You have to know your strengths. You have to know your weaknesses. You have to know what you're capable of with the help of nobody but God. You have to know, like, and even there were even times in this season where God was silent just to see what I would do. So it's you have to really get to know yourself. And it doesn't have to consist of a lot of emotional wear and tear, but it does have to do with letting go of traumas, cleaning your heart, um, being vulnerable with God, um, and yourself, um, releasing all things that do not serve you, and operating in a higher frequency than your ego, really listening to your spirit, becoming more intuitive, trusting yourself, trusting God, um, you know, just it's like tunnel vision. You have to have tunnel vision in order to find yourself. And that is so important. I can't even emphasize it enough. And another one, far as appreciating your down season, is learn your lessons. And when I say learn your lessons, I mean don't be like me and go through the same test over and over and over again. If you know that you're being tested on your addiction to marijuana, it's not easy to quit cold turkey. I couldn't quit cold turkey, but it does prolong your process when you do. So in order to learn your lessons, get to the root of why you keep repeating cycles. Get to the root. Like, I had to understand that the reason I was addicted to weed is because I had anxiety and depression. I did not want to admit I was depressed for years. And I looked back on it and realized that I probably had been depressed since about 19 years old. And that's what, 4 years? Um, and I just accepted that I was depressed maybe a couple months ago. So I had anxiety and depression. I I had low self-esteem. I had a lack of self-love, and I did things that kept my mind altered to not have to deal with it. I smoked weed to go to sleep. I went and partied all the time. Like, yeah, I was in college, but college was no excuse of to the extent that I would smoke and drink. But I wasn't able to completely quit weed until I worked on my self-love and I worked on my sadness. When I was sad, instead of smoking, I would write. At one point, I replaced smoking with wine. Then I slowly got dependent on wine. And then eventually I was like, I'm replacing one addiction with another addiction. And they're both costly, because I wouldn't just drink one glass of wine. It started out as like drinking a whole um, slender bottle of wine, and then gradually I built up, and I was drinking one glass of wine every now and then, until eventually I just kept weaning myself off of everything by replacing it with more positive habits. So in order to learn your lesson, get to the root of why you have developed that negative behavior in the first place. If you are somebody who has sex outside of marriage or outside of relationships, just multiple sex partners in general, get to the root of that problem. More than likely, that is you trying to seek love. That is a lack of self-love. That is a lack of self-esteem. That is just operating in a lack mindset. And you only get these revelations by pressing in to God. You only get these revelations by through deliverance, through prayer and petition, through reading your Bible, through journaling. Everything doesn't have to be religious, but if you're not going to take the religious route, which was more comforting for me, then you have to be willing to journal. You have to be willing to cry and scream and holler. You have to be willing to listen to music that's going to stir up emotions inside of you and cause you to release. You're going to have to be willing to communicate and express somehow to get that off of your heart. Even if it's conflict, you have to be willing to either talk to that person or write letters. Like, I'm still in a place of purifying my heart with conflicts that I've had with people, or like just having to write letters to people to really convey how I feel. And they'll never receive the letters, but it's getting it out of me. It's throwing up, regurgitating what's blackening and darkening my heart and dirtying my insides. It doesn't have to be given to them to dirty their hearts up, but you can't let it fester in you. So learn your lessons, get to the root of your problems, solve your conflicts, find out what's in your subconscious mind that is causing you to self-sabotage, to form addictions, to just completely defile yourself. And everything, it may not be that deep. Maybe you have a simple negative behavior, like you avoid confrontation. Why do you avoid confrontation? Are you a people pleaser? Are you scared of people seeing you for who you truly are? It's so many different things that come up when you are in that down season that you didn't even realize about yourself, because you never sat down long enough to know you. It's a when you're in it, it's like a tornado. Everything's flying around and it's just like all over the place. But when you look back on it and you survive it, and 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 even though it tore down your home, you get to start with a fresh foundation and build a better home, build a better mind, build up a better heart posture, build up better connections, build up more opportunities. It's just, and you look back on it and you become thankful for the tornado. You become thankful for the storm. You become thankful for being in that moment full of fear and intimidation with being inside of your own storm. But when you look back on what you built after that, everything is so worth it. And lastly, I would say, to appreciate your down season, grow closer to God. Everybody has their own practices, even in the religious sector of Christianity. We have prayer, we have meditation, we have many different ministries. We have dance ministry, we have intercession, we have marriage ministries, we have single people's ministry. It's so many different sectors in how people grow and build and cultivate their relationship with God. So it does not always have to be singing melodies in the church. I personally love to sing melodies, but I don't sing them in the church. I love to dance, and I chose the dance ministry. Better yet, God called me to the dance ministry. I love prayer, but that's something that had to grow on me. I wasn't always confident in my prayers. I barely prayed. And now prayer is something I look to and I'm strengthening daily. Prayer is still not something that I'm super comfortable with doing in front of other people. But now I'm praying in front of people that I can't even see, just on a conference call. Now I'm praying us into dance rehearsals. I wasn't always comfortable being in the forefront in front of a crowd of people and doing things, but now I'm on the dance ministry and leading us out, and it's all because God is showing me what I'm capable of, and the only way he could show me what I was capable of was to sit me down for a season. And at first I was so upset. There were times where I would cry and I would go in my closet and I would tell God, like, I'm giving up. That's it. I can't take it no more. Nothing's going my way. I'm being patient. It's been months. Nothing is happening still to this day. But now that I'm slowly crawling up out of my down season, I feel great. I know more. I'm smart. I know me. I know me. I know my strengths. I know my weaknesses. Nothing can tear down my confidence because I already know what I'm capable of. So to end this video off, because I didn't want to make this super long, I just want to say Selah. Selah means to pause and reflect. Your Selah moments may be daily. They may be weekly. They may last for months, like mine did. They may last for years, like plenty of people I know. But however long your process takes to strengthen your spiritual man or your spiritual woman is how long you need. Don't ever question how long God has you in your down season, because it is always going to be for your benefit. It does not feel like it. It don't look like it. Your mind can't even think like it's going to benefit you. But as somebody who has been there, somebody who is just now climbing up out of there, in some ways I'm still there, but not spiritually. My circumstances may look like I'm still there, but spiritually I'm been out of my down season. And life is just a manifestation of the spirit realm. So Selah, take all the time you need, and thank God in the process. If you do not know God and you would like to know more about God, I definitely recommend saying the prayer of salvation, finding you a church home, picking up this book that has changed my life. I never thought I would say that. And get to know you, get to know him. And lastly, I just want to add that my second year of college, I was a junior, I think, by then. I did college in 3 years. So I think I was in my first junior semester. And I was on the phone with one of my friends, one of my best friends at the time. And we started reading the Bible. We said we were going to read the entire Bible. And we started in Genesis. We started reading Genesis and we laughed at the Bible. We made a mockery of it. We blasphemed it. Lord, forgive me for that. I don't think I ever asked for forgiveness for that. So Lord, forgive me. But I mocked this very book that has carried me this past year and a half since graduating college. And that is how the mighty God works, okay? So if y'all don't take anything else from this video, get in touch with you, get in touch with him, and don't worry about how your circumstances look, because it's all gonna work out for your good. Thank y'all for tuning in. Like I said, God is working on my discipline and my consistency. So by his will, by his grace, by his correction, we gonna get this rolling. Subscribe, check out my other videos. Let's get these views up. Share this to the first person that comes to mind. I know they need to hear it if they came to your mind. I love you guys, and thank you so much for supporting.